Elizabeth Smith plays the recording of the call Dan Bias made to police the night of his wife's death.
Jesus Christ. 5-4, go to 259 Chambers Street, right away. Oh my God. Did she shot herself? Where did she shoot herself? In the head? Or... Oh God. Alright, just stand by, okay? They're on the way, alright?
Dr. Lewis Rowe, Chief Medical Examiner for Westchester County, New York.
In this situation that the hair around the entrance wound was removed and it was rinsed. According to the record that it was rinsed and then examined, I guess to remove the blood staining on the hair. The action of washing certainly will remove the gunpowder adherent to the surface of the hair.
Are you able, based upon your review of the materials in this case, Dr. Rowe, to formulate an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty as to the muzzle to target distance in this particular case?
Yes.
And what would your opinion be based on, Doctor?
Okay, my opinion being that I do know that within 4-inch distance, you will find the gunpowder burning or stippling on the scalp of the head. In this case, according to the record, there was no powder stippling seen around the entrance wound, although the gunpowder was found in the bullet track. That means the gunpowder reached the skin through the bullet hole, whereas the rest of the gunpowder did not reach the skin because of the hair. So we're talking about the distance beyond the 4 inches, and yet it has to be close to have this gunpowder reach through the bullet track. So it was my estimation that it's about 6 to 8 inches.
Dr. Lewis Rowe then demonstrates with the defense attorney how he thinks the event that night could have happened.
This is the way usually people place the gun. Now, according to the statement that her hand was grabbed and pushed away like this, creating the distance. Now we have here dowel stick. When you place it inside, it leaves 6 inches here. Let's move the slow motion this time. If you push it this way, it creates the 6 inch distance, perhaps a little more, to the back of the ear. Now, as you push it, snap it suddenly, it creates the arm span to the limit. As you pull it,
let her pull the trigger.
You see, I have to snap it. Okay, as far as I know, there was a snapping motion, grabbing the hand, pulling backward, and that's when the muscle pull,
Where'd you get
finger.
All that from? Where'd you get that from? The snapping and the pulling. Where'd this come from?
If I pull this hand...
No, excuse me. Not if. Where did you get that information from?
I'm just saying that anatomically it can happen.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you snap and pull and let her pull the trigger at the same time? She can't pull that trigger.
So if I snap it...
No. Please, don't touch it with your right hand. You can't do it. And you have to be over on this side now. You got to be from the left.
Okay. If I yank it this way, pull. Sorry, this way.
Now, you've had an opportunity to watch a videotape of a statement that you gave to the police on that evening, correct?
Yes, I have.
Did you tell the police the truth when you gave them the statements that you gave them in the videotape?
Yes, I did.
Now, on that particular, the evening that Lise died, thinking back on it, did you observe anything unusual about her that night?
A few things.
Tell us what they were.
for the last couple nights before then, she was very, very clingy. Normally, it was normal procedure. Lisa would normally go to bed probably an hour and a half before I would. I would normally do things after she would go to bed, and I would go to bed afterwards. And she demanded that Friday and that Saturday that I went to bed when she went to bed immediately. And she had never been like that before.
When you went on that evening to take the gun from Lise, what was in your mind?
That she was clowning around.
What was in your mind? What was in your mind as far as her intention?
That she was doing it for attention. But when she didn't acknowledge me when I walked into the room, then I got a little bit more concerned.
And is that when you attempted to take the gun?
Yes, it is.
Is that when the gun went off?
Yes, it is.
Nothing further.
Listen to the question, Mr. Bias. Did Patrolman Walsh testify truthfully when he said that you told him that your wife came downstairs with a .357 Magnum and said, quote, "It's times like this that people kill themselves"?
That's incorrect. That is not what I said.
So he was not testifying truthfully.
I'm not saying that he wasn't testifying to what he thought I said. That is not what I said.
And isn't it a fact, Mr. Bias, that as this argument escalated, you began to lose your patience?
No.
And that you pulled out the gun from under the bed where you had kept loaded. And at that time, Mr. Bias, your wife, she was by the mirror, Mr. Bias.
Absolutely not. What you're saying is not true.
She wasn't by the mirror?
No, what you're saying about me pulling the gun out from underneath the bed.
She was by the mirror, isn't that right, Mr. Bias? And she was walking out the door.
Absolutely
Because
not.
she told you, Mr. Bias, that she had it. She wanted a divorce.
No, she did not.
You were talking about divorce, weren't you?
Absolutely not.
Didn't you talk about divorce about a month or two before this incident?
We had talked about possibilities of it, I would say September, October. That's like 4 months,
About
5
divorce.
months?
About divorce.
Yes.
And she told you, Mr. Bias, that she was no longer going to have your baby, didn't she?
You're dreaming, pal.
I'm dreaming.
That's right.
Am I dreaming, Mr. Bias, that at that point you picked up this gun, you pointed at her, and you pulled the trigger? And at that point,
Absolutely.
Mr. Bias, she fell to the left, down against that heater. And at that point, you panicked.
No way. I did not shoot my wife.
Mr. Bias, at the time of Lisa's death, did you love your wife?
Absolutely.
Were you discussing divorcing her?
No, we were discussing having a baby.
Was anything that the prosecutor said to you about his version of the incidents that night true?
No.
I'm always glad when it gets to this point in the case, because at this point in the case, when I finish speaking to you and I sit down, my job is over. Your job just begins. And ladies and gentlemen, I do not envy you your job in this case. It is a very serious job. The state must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that Daniel Bias knowingly or purposely killed his wife. And they must prove that based on facts. And I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that in order to come to that conclusion, you would have to eliminate every possibility of an accidental shooting in this case. We all like to hope that if we tell the truth, that it will result in everything being okay. Daniel Bias told the truth, and that results in his sitting in this courtroom. He told the truth. He tried to answer the questions that were put to him hour after hour by these police officers. It was a terrible, horrible, tragic accident. It was not a crime. And I ask you to find Dan Bias not guilty. Thank you.
I want you to pick up the gun. I want you to hold this gun in your hand. And I want you to put it to your head. And I want you to stand up straight. And I want you to think about Lisa Bias. But if I lift this arm of mine up, and I just go like this, pull the trigger, I suggest to you and submit to you, that's consistent with where the bullet entered the head of Lisa Bias at the angle. This is a very simple case. Did Lisa Bias want to commit suicide? Did she commit suicide? She couldn't have committed suicide. She couldn't have shot herself. It's impossible. It's physically impossible to shoot yourself with this gun from 6 inches away.
If you are not satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant did, in fact, cause the victim's death, or that the defendant acted purposely or knowingly, then you must find the defendant not guilty of murder.